What is it? Ripple printed 100 billion XRP tokens, gave it to themselves, and the distribution to the people is by them selling it. People say, well, Michael Saylor's lobbying for Bitcoin. Why can't Ripple lobby for Ripple? Well, Michael Saylor has bought $30 billion worth of Bitcoin. He thinks Bitcoin's a good idea for him, and he wants America to think the same. Ripple has never bought Ripple. They've only sold it.
Jack Mallers, CEO of Strike, opens with a scathing indictment of Ripple's centralized model. Unlike Bitcoin, which rewards contribution through proof of work and decentralized ownership, Ripple's XRP was created out of thin air, allocated to insiders and sold to the public. Mallers contrasts this with Michael Saylor's $30 billion Bitcoin bet, a commitment rooted in belief, not self-enrichment. For Mallers, this distinction is critical. Bitcoin's value derives from its immutable scarcity and alignment with public interest, while altcoins like XRP replicate the exploitative monetary policies of the past.
Well, I think that a Bitcoin strategic reserve, so firstly, this concept, this idea that's been floated around, and it seems like we're making political progress. I think it would be one of the most important economic announcements in US history. Important meaning, I think, on par with something like Nixon's announcement in 1971. However, I think the big difference that no one's talking about enough is it would be one of the first positive economic announcements. So important doesn't bias positive or negative. It means it's meaningful to the public, but meaningful to the public has usually been negative with economic US announcements.
Mallers positions a Bitcoin reserve as a watershed moment, a departure from a century of economic decisions that eroded public trust. From the gold confiscation of 1933 to the 2008 bailouts, U.S. monetary policy has prioritized elites. A Bitcoin reserve, he argues, would invert this dynamic, leveraging Bitcoin's decentralized ownership and fixed supply to empower ordinary citizens. This isn't just about price appreciation. It's about rewriting the social contract.
This is an asset that's owned, only 2, 3, 4% of the Bitcoin network is owned by governments. Who owns it, Natalie? The people, the public. This is an asset where its monetary policy cannot be changed. It cannot be forced seizure. It's global, it's inclusive. You could buy a penny worth of Bitcoin.
Here, Mallers underscores Bitcoin's democratic potential. Unlike fiat or corporate tokens, Bitcoin's ownership is decentralized, its rules unalterable by governments or corporations. Its accessibility, down to fractional ownership, makes it a tool for financial inclusion, not exclusion. For Mallers, this is Bitcoin's superpower. It cannot be weaponized by the powerful to exploit the powerless.
Bitcoin's the only monetary unit in the history of our species that is literally fixed, finite. You cannot make more of it. If we wanted to find more gold, we can. If McDonald's wanted to make 8 billion cheeseburgers for everyone in the world, they can. If Apple wanted to make 8 billion iPhones for everyone in the world, they can. With more demand comes more supply. And so the really difficult thing as humans is how can we engineer something that is fixed, finite?
Mallers distills Bitcoin's revolutionary premise. It is the first truly scarce asset, immune to human intervention. Gold, commodities, and even corporate tokens can be inflated, but Bitcoin's 21 million cap is enforced by code. This scarcity, he argues, makes it the ideal hedge against fiat debasement and corporate greed. For everyday people, it's a way to preserve the value of their labor in a system rigged against them.
And I think a year from now, the dollar will be tremendously weaker than it is today. And I think Bitcoin is the best expression of currency debasement, of a weaker dollar, of more fiat liquidity. And I expect Bitcoin to be the highest performer again, as it always is, because it's the only fixed thing you can own in the face of a weaker dollar.
Mallers' $250,000 prediction hinges on inevitability. Runaway debt and money printing will force a reckoning. Bitcoin's fixed supply positions it as the antidote to fiat's infinite dilution. While short-term volatility is inevitable, he sees Bitcoin's long-term trajectory as unstoppable, a mathematical certainty in a world drowning in debt.
I think that we should demand some transparency into Ripple's lobbying efforts. I think it should be a requirement that we understand the wires that they're sending to politicians and where that capital is going, so that we know if the future of our country and the future of our reserves and the future of our money is predicated on the interests of a company.
Mallers ends with a call to action. Public pressure must counter corporate lobbying. Ripple's efforts to influence policy, he warns, threaten to hijack Bitcoin's grassroots movement. Transparency, he insists, is non-negotiable. The public deserves to know if their financial future is being auctioned to the highest bidder.
I think people understand Bitcoin when they need to. That's a Michael Saylor idea. Is it's you really deeply understand this concept when it's out of necessity. Whether your company's failing, your family needs help, you can't make progress towards owning a home because inflation is too burdening to you. That's when you deeply understand these concepts. And I'm not sure Donald Trump needs to understand Bitcoin out of necessity yet. Eventually, the US government will. I don't know if they've gotten there quite yet.
Mallers introduces a sobering truth. Necessity drives adoption. For many, Bitcoin becomes real only when the cracks in the system, runaway inflation, financial instability, or systemic corruption, become too glaring to ignore. While politicians and corporations may not yet feel this urgency, Mallers believes it's inevitable. As fiat systems falter, the U.S. government, like individuals and businesses, will be forced to confront Bitcoin's value. This isn't just about price appreciation. It's about survival in a world where traditional financial systems are increasingly unreliable. For Mallers, the question isn't if this shift will happen, but when and whether the public can ensure it happens on their terms, not those of corporate lobbyists. Jack Mallers' argument is a tapestry of historical reckoning, economic urgency, and ideological clarity. He begins by dismantling Ripple's model, a centralized entity printing tokens for self-enrichment, mirroring the worst abuses of fiat systems. Unlike Bitcoin, which rewards contribution through proof of work and decentralized ownership, Ripple's XRP epitomizes corporate exploitation, a modern-day gold confiscation or bank bailout. Mallers then anchors Bitcoin's value in its immutability, a fixed supply of 21 million, governed by code, not politicians or CEOs. This scarcity, he argues, isn't just a technical feature. It's a moral imperative, a shield against the inflation that erodes wages, savings, and trust. The proposed U.S. Bitcoin reserve emerges as the climax of his thesis. Unlike historic economic decisions that sacrifice public interest, Nixon's 1971 abandonment of the gold standard, 2008's Wall Street bailouts, a Bitcoin reserve would mark a positive inflection point, a government aligning with a decentralized asset owned by the people. Mallers ties this to Bitcoin's price trajectory. $250,000 isn't speculation but arithmetic, a reflection of fiat's inevitable collapse under debt and political short-termism. Yet his vision transcends profit. It's about societal repair. When money can't be debased, labor regains its dignity, and innovation isn't hijacked by rent seekers. The threat, however, looms large. Corporate lobbying, exemplified by Ripple's backroom efforts, risks corrupting this moment, repeating history's cycle of centralized exploitation. Mallers' call to action is clear: demand transparency, reject cronyism, and fight for a system where money serves humanity, not vice versa. For him, Bitcoin isn't just an asset. It's the foundation of a fairer world.
That if we can fix the money, we can fix the world. And I think fixing the money to me is Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's the only money within the cryptocurrency space. I would make the argument that everything else, at best, are technologies.
Yeah.
And my life's mission is to help fix the money, because if we do, I think we can solve some of the world's hardest problems. So I appreciate all the support that people give me.
Will grassroots demand for transparency overcome corporate lobbying, or will history repeat itself with a new breed of monetary exploitation? Let us know your take below. And as always, thanks for watching.